All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Tree Care Sector Partnership meeting for February. I am Josh Morin. I chair the sector partnership and run We Love Trees. And I also teach a few of the classes for the apprentices. Just actually finished teaching transition to journey worker yesterday. So really appreciate the apprentices, the people in that program, and great to see you all here this morning. Nikki, you want to go next?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Nikki Lucas with the Place Setting Company, and we provide administrative support for the partnership. Let's have Kelly Mazur. Mazur? How do you say it?
It's Mazer, like laser. Hi, good morning. I am the executive director for the ISA Rocky Mountain chapter. This, I think, might be one of my first meetings with you guys, so thank you for having me.
Welcome, Kelly. Pick somebody else. If you can.
Oh, sorry, I had to look at the list. The next in line, it looks like Amanda.
Thank you, Kelly. Hi, everyone. I'm Amanda Miller. I work on the team with Nikki as part of the Place Setting Company. So happy to see you all this morning. I will have my camera off for most of the meeting, but I'm here and happy to connect with you all. I will turn it over to Adrian.
Hello, I am Adrian Camacho. I am one of the forestry superintendents in Aurora. Glad to be here and glad to see some old faces like Matt Chapeo. Tell us about yourself, Matt.
You're muted.
That's always helpful, thanks. Matt Chapeo, I run Preservation Tree Care. I was helping with this group, oh gosh, 3 years ago, kind of at the inception with Josh and Adrian and some other folks. Glad to be back, and we're excited to get apprenticeship moving in our organization. So how about Rhonda? Have you gone yet? That's not, I don't think that's a Rhonda. Koski? That's the name though. Who is that under the mask?
Oh, Rhonda Koski. That's
this
unmute again.
I'm Jim Klett from CSU. I don't know how Rhonda's name came up there. I'm here to listen. Thank you.
Good to see you, Jim.
Horticulture and landscape architecture.
At least you're not a cat.
No. What happened?
Do you want to choose somebody else, Jim?
I don't know if I see. I think everybody else has been introduced from what I can see.
All right. How about Mike Earl? You want to go? Yeah. Make sure when you do it, you unmute yourself.
I'm only seeing Nikki's screen. Sorry, some technological difficulty here. Good morning, guys. Mike Earl, Old Growth Tree Service up in the Eagle Valley. Been helping out with the partnership now for the past 4 months, trying to hopefully bring the partnership up to the mountain region in the Western Slope.
How about Nancy Murray? You look like you're unmuted.
I am unmuted, and Josh, I love your hat.
Oh, thank you.
Great, especially there, as you're outside on this cold brisk day.
I'm just, bearing the elements.
So I'm Nancy Murray, and I am an apprenticeship consultant with, oh goodness, CUA, Colorado Urban Workforce Alliance. Kat is my teammate, and she has been on this partnership, I think, for a long time, and she's away on maternity leave, so I'm stepping in to help. So anyone who maybe is like, okay, we need some assistance in creating our program or getting it registered, holler, and I can move you through that process.
Awesome. Thanks, Nancy. Can you pick the next person, please, if you can see somebody?
Has Kelly gone already?
Kelly Mazer has gone. Yes.
How about Brian?
Hi, everyone, I'm Brian McCoy, the Westminster City Forester. Yeah, my involvement here is just helping to provide a place for the training to take place in Westminster parks on trees. I don't know who hasn't gone. If you haven't, just jump in. How about that?
Hey guys, I'm Joe Tabano, Denver Public Schools ACE, that's Alternative Cooperative Education Connection Team. Just looking to make more partners for our students and let everybody know what we're about. Thanks, you guys.
Welcome, Joseph. Who's next?
I'll go. I'm Megan Townsend with Altitude Arborist in Broomfield, Colorado. I think the most recent member of the board for this group. And I jumped in because I'm really excited for Joseph to be on this call because part of my passion is getting young people interested in the industry. And I will pick Madeline.
Hi everyone, nice to see you again. Nice to see some new faces here. I work for the Park People. I'm managing their new workforce development, pre-apprenticeship, and tree care. So I'm just here to provide as much support as we can for the apprenticeship program and the sector partnership, and then always looking for partners for our program. Would love to connect with Joe about getting students involved in future years with our program and things like that. So happy to be here. I don't know who hasn't gone yet.
Is that everybody?
Did John go?
Hey there. My name is John Carlton. I work with Preservation Tree Care with Matt Chapeo. I don't know if he's already introduced himself, but yeah, I'm just here to learn more about it and get more involved here.
Welcome, John. Good to see you. I appreciate your hat. Cool. Well, so shall we hop into the agenda? Just full disclosure, I was out, missed the last meeting, and also missed the most recent leadership team meeting, although I did watch the recorded video of that meeting. So really appreciate everyone's participation there. And Nikki, I don't know, do you have anything before we kick it off, or do you want to kick it off with anything?
I think we've got really good excitement and momentum, and so excited to just continue to move some of these key goals of the partnership forward. So yeah, no problem if you can't attend meetings. We do record them all and share the link to watch them. So I'm glad that hopefully this time does work for more people, but no specific things to add at this point.
All right, awesome. Well, let's hop on in. Just a reminder, we do have a place for, employers and businesses to share their challenges and feedback later here in the agenda. But let's go and let's go ahead and hop into just the Arborist apprenticeships topic there. We do have some updates. Like I said, yesterday marked the completion of the transition to journey worker class from our original cohort. I think we had close to 15 or maybe 12 when we first started. We're down to 4 apprentices who are in their 3rd year, who are just about ready to finish their classes. And so we, I taught transition to journey worker, new class, to me, and really got into the finer details of like, what's it mean to be a leader? How do you use this whole apprenticeship model of training to tell, show, and do, and practicing doing that, and communication techniques, active listening. So it was a good class. Got some nice feedback from the attendees. We have one apprentice that couldn't finish the last class, so I'll have to circle back with her. And then Lynn Bossler has been working behind the scenes. She couldn't make this meeting today, but she has been working to secure, subject matter experts, because we had some more needs and some more classes to be instructed. Just a message from Lynn here that it looks like the year 3 students are going to finish their last class on April 6th. And so we will likely want to do some type of celebration for those apprentices as they, transition to journey worker and finish the program out. So it looks like we're planning to finish that on April 6th this year. Just wanted to share that info. Don't know if anybody has anything else. If anyone is on here that's agreed to be an instructor or subject matter expert or has anything to add or questions to ask. That's about my update for the classes and cohorts right now. Nikki, I didn't know if you had anything extra.
Have we filled all the needs with the subject matter experts that you know of? Or there's
let me check here. I just had an email from Lynn last night.
Okay.
Yeah, she says we've found instructors for all the classes. She's included all 3 instructor names below. Let me see here. Yeah, I think we're pretty good. So, but that being said, we're always looking for fresh perspective, and we want to keep that becomes a funnel as well. Anybody that does have an interest in sharing their knowledge, we're always looking for subject matter experts for backup. Things come up, things like that. So yeah. The next thing on here, did anybody have anything else? Any other questions or comments?
I just know that I think we talked in the leadership meeting about potentially, organizing something like you mentioned for the people completing the program. So I just didn't know if there had been any more discussion on that, and when that may take place, if the plan was for it to be on their last day or if there is some other recognition event occurring.
Yeah, I definitely think we should celebrate the completion here for these journey workers. And that might also be a time to bring in the other journey worker that sort of completed the program outside of the related learning we deliver through Front Range. So maybe we can plan that. I think what we should do is circle back with the 3 employers, that's Save a Tree, City of Aurora, and Arborscapes. That's who employs and then there's one other company, Northern Colorado Tree Care, I think it is, that is Paige's employer. So we'll want to get them involved to make sure that we celebrate that. So I think Nikki capturing that as a topic and an action item would be great.
Yep.
Thanks,
and
Megan.
right now we're targeting just while they happen to be on site for their last class, and Lynn sent an email saying that was April 6th, which is a Wednesday. They would have a full day, 8 to 5, but she said that the celebration can be at 4 or 5 p.m. that day. And so we can reach out to kind of those employers on if that date works. And maybe Adrian, you can check your calendar, since would you be one that would be attending to celebrate April 6th around 4 or 5
Yeah,
p.m.?
definitely. What
was that?
What was the date?
Wednesday, April 6th.
Nikki, would you mind, can you shoot out like maybe a calendar invite at least to the leadership team?
Yeah.
So that we've got that on our calendars. That might be a good thing. Just last day of apprenticeship courses for the first cohort.
Yep, can do.
Awesome. Cool. Any other questions or thoughts there on the apprenticeship class and cohort update? All right, moving on here to competency-based model update. I don't know if any of the employers are here that had put in applications to switch over to competency-based apprenticeship, or if Nikki or anyone else on the leadership team has updates. Since I'm talking, I'll just go ahead and share my experience. What I understand is that, and from Cat Plaza as well, and also in talking with Cynthia McLean with the Department of Labor, is in my company, when I established apprenticeship, we went straight with a competency-based model. This is something that the Department of Labor was really supporting, had energy behind shifting to that model where appropriate, because it allows for flexibility, more flexibility than the hybrid model. I know that reportedly from several of the employers that were looking to switch their programs to a competency-based model, we ran into a hiccup where evidently there's someone within the Department of Labor office, I forget his name at this time, but Dudley, yes, Dudley took issue with this minimum standard, which is the Department of Labor standard, which basically says it has to be 2,000 hours and 144 related hours of learning at minimum to complete a competency-based journey worker. And he wanted to see a specification of what we really thought it would take for a green, meaning brand new apprentice to complete the program. And I think there's some consensus that we thought you couldn't really fully transition from an inexperienced, no experienced arborist to a journey worker arborist, under 2 years. So we were offering that up as maybe that would meet Dudley's demand. So I haven't heard from anyone after having that conversation with Cynthia McLean. I did have it on my list to circle back with TCIA, because the other way to go about approaching this would be to ask TCIA to submit the guidelines for apprenticeship in a competency-based model as well. And then we wouldn't be involved with adapting a hybrid model to a competency-based model. So just wanted to give, I'm sure there's a lot of jargon in there that may or may not make sense to everybody, but that's what we're up to. And so it presented a hurdle for some of these companies that, I know, like I think Arborscapes and maybe Adrian, you can speak to this. I don't know what your experience is, if you've been pushing for this or not.
Quickly, I thought we're done with that. I think we are a competency-based shop now.
Oh, sweet.
Well, and I was just going to say too, Josh, that I know Kat had left me with the names of a couple of businesses that were trying to do the shift or to create a program. And I know that at least one of them was approved 2 weeks ago. So,
Okay.
so I think your solution did it.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
Yeah.
I think maybe Summit Tree Care. I know that they have an apprentice. That was one of the ones that was sort of a hold up for us. So,
And they're good to go now.
oh, cool. All right, sweet.
Yeah.
All right. Well, maybe a non-issue there. Anybody else have any questions on the competency-based model while we're talking about it?
So Josh, if it's appropriate to share now the difference between a hybrid and a competency, because I've been out of the game for a bit, and I think, I'm just curious to see what the difference is.
Sure. Yeah. Just to give some context, a hybrid model basically says, in order for you to become a journey worker arborist, you need to complete, I think it's like 5,400 hours of on-the-job training and 400 plus hours of related learning, right? And so that takes 3 years. So it's really defined in this like 3-year model. And in some ways, they're using 3 years as a proxy for ensuring, they're using time on the job as a proxy for skill and competency, right? So it's like, hey, we're not sure, but if you stay in it for 3 years and you do the related learning, we're pretty sure that if you stay in that long, you should have the competencies down. Where a competency-based model really looks at all of the different skills, knowledge, and abilities, and saying, do you have that knowledge? Yes. Can you demonstrate this skill? Yes. Right. And as long as you're meeting those competencies that match with a journey worker, and you've completed at least 2,000 hours, which is 1 year of work on the job learning, that you can qualify to, complete as a journey worker. So it's really about demonstrating competency. And the Department of Labor has a standard that says in an apprenticeship program, for every 2,000 hours that you work, you have to have 144 hours of related learning. And that has to match up with the guidelines within the apprenticeship program. And in my view, in my understanding, the competency-based model is more clearly aligned with like humans, because we see this in the program. We have people that come into basically the journey work, the apprentices, the 3-year apprentices right now are pretty much, I think all of them in some way at times are acting as crew leaders. So it's clear that they, they come into the program with experience and knowledge and abilities already. And so it's important that the model of learning matches with that particular person. And so a competency-based model just a lot more flexibility. It's like, they can demonstrate competency in, tree identification. Well, all right, let's focus your related learning on where you have actual gaps. So that's the whole idea behind it. All this is like devil's in the detail. And how can our learning model align with each of the apprentices? So that's the difference. So in my view, you're better served for our profession to have a competency-based model than a hybrid model, because it just gives you more freedom.
Thank you for that. That makes it crystal clear. Appreciate it.
Cool. Anybody else have any questions on that?
Something I just wanted to ask about was, I think like in future years, like a goal of mine that I have maybe mentioned to you, Josh and Nikki, but something for both like our pre-apprenticeship and other similar programs that are developing and that will be occurring is to potentially like factor that into the competency. I don't know how that would work or what that would look like exactly, but maybe for graduates of our program who demonstrate a certain amount of knowledge in these areas could have some of that time knocked off as well. And that could increase retention for, the apprenticeship, things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, there's the program that you're building out, Madeline, and there's an existing program that I just signed a letter of support for, sort of unilaterally, is this Butte College program out in California that's really been a successful model. And there's also another pre-apprenticeship program up in Wisconsin, I believe. And they use the curriculum of year one, arboriculture from TCIA. So, and they pack that curriculum into an intensive 8-week program. So anyone that comes out of that program that has completed that related learning and shown competency or passed the skills and knowledge would get credit for related learning. So it's all building, it all kind of builds on it. So yeah, that's definitely is there. I think you just want to make sure that it's aligned and so potentially if an employer hires someone out of a pre-apprenticeship program, they're like, yeah, I've already completed all of these related learning topics, and you can check that off. And so that gets them just a little further ahead, and means the less training and that the employer should have to provide to that particular employee. Cool. Awesome. Well, with that, Madeline, do you have any updates? I think I saw the last topic under this first heading. I can't see the thing now, but it talked about pre-apprenticeship.
Sure, I can give some updates. I'm trying to think of what I said last time. I think in terms of like relevance to this group, we're still working on that curriculum. And I mean, Josh, you know that I've been in contact with some folks from TCIA and now have access to some of their curriculum. So I think I would love to get feedback from sector partnership. I don't know in what way on that curriculum, just so, we're on the same page and making sure that it's going to be helpful and relevant information. So that is something that I think I would love help with, or I don't know how we would organize that, but.
Well, what might make sense, what I might offer up, and happy to hear other folks' ideas too, please, is that either we set up potentially to have you take part in a leadership team meeting where it's a little more focused, where you could present, hey, this is what our curriculum model looks like. And that would allow us to have a more direct, feedback, like, okay, that fits, that doesn't, you might want to think about this. Or we could just set up get a couple key people that have a vested interest in supporting and set up that meeting. So I would offer up those two options. Maybe we invite you into a leadership team meeting. I don't know what other members of the leadership team think about that, but seems appropriate.
I think it's a great idea. Something we did similarly in the last meeting with the other topic. So I think absolutely be great.
Excellent. Nikki, I can't see the agenda, but if you could maybe share it and we can hop on to what's next, unless anyone else has questions about pre-apprenticeship program support. No? Well, I think that this is an opportunity for me to sort of step back a little bit because I was not at the last leadership team meeting, so I can kind of hand this off to one of my friends. Do I have any friends?
So this next part on the agenda is Megan's project that she's working on. And so Megan, I figured we could just get feedback from the group on what might help them before we dive deep into the details of kind of that toolkit you're wanting to create.
Sure. So a little bit of background for those of you on the call who may not be intimately aware of what Nikki and I have been plotting and what we discussed in the leadership team. We are looking to fulfill one of the goals of the sector partnership, and that is filling our funnel from the top with young people in, high school, and maybe eventually even, educating middle school and elementary students and different youth programs about the profession. And so our initial, before we go really broad with this, we decided, Nikki and I in our last kind of chat, decided let's work on the high school career fair portion of this before we try to do too much. And so part of that is building a toolkit, essentially, that would decrease the friction for any company to jump in to partake in a career fair, where it could be just one small school, it could be a school district or some other event for young people exploring careers. And so what we wanted to do today is ask, and just so Mike, Nikki and I are hoping to also have a meeting with you and then also with David to get your experience and what you found helpful in organizing yourselves for a career fair. But today, just getting input on what anyone, especially who's in, actively working in the industry, would find helpful to decrease the friction to participate. So what items would you find helpful in a toolkit? So then Nikki and I can continue to work together to put something together that essentially someone saying, gosh, I don't know where to start, can say, we've got you covered, and make it easier for us to get the word out. With that, if anybody has ideas, we're all ears.
Well, I've got some ideas and I like to talk, so hopefully you all aren't tired of hearing me talk. And I have some experience with this. Like we would, go to the Green Industry Career Fair that was collaborated by CSU and some other, like Boulder County Extension one year, and I think Adams County another year. And so what I would do is photocopy out of the Art and Science of Practical Rigging visual diagrams of like knot tying. And then I would take old rope and so I had like hundreds of pieces of rope. And so that became this little, I knew how it would go. We'd go out there with the rope. We'd go out there with the identifying features. Here's the end of the rope, the working end of the rope. Here's a coil. Here's a bite. Here's an overhand loop. And then a diagram of like how to tie a bowline. And then we would, go through with the kids how to tie a bowline over and over and over again. And we'd explain the usefulness and why you tie the knot and that kind of thing. And so to me, that was all in the back of my head of what we would do, but it would be great, in my opinion, if you had a little outline, right? So almost like a workbook of, here are 10 or so different ideas for you as an employer or career fair sponsor or arborist to present to attendees, like, rope and knot tying. The other one we would do would be plant healthcare. So we would bring, day before we'd grab samples of like European elm scale or aphids or borer damage, like emerald ash borer, and we'd bring them with us. And then we'd also have one of these, they're pretty cheap, but digital microscopes that can plug into a computer. So they basically display whatever you're looking at on a screen. And so you get the kids to like, here, go take this twig, put it under a microscope. Okay, scrape off that female scale and look underneath. Those are all our eggs. Or squish it and look at the juice. It's gross. Because some kids are into that. And then we would do like, a climb. We'd set up a rope and do that. And then we'd also set up a bucket station where the kids could either hop into the basket and or operate the controls. So I think like from a toolkit perspective, like having this like, and that's something where I think we have an opportunity to reach out to partners like Kelly, you're here today, and the Tree Care Industry Association, like, hey, if they have bandwidth or resources that already exist for these, I think that's, worth doing some outreach. But that's what I would envision for a toolkit.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Anyone else have experience who might want to share that some things they did that we could potentially put into a toolkit or other resources they know about?
Bueller.
And if not, and actually, I guess the other question is anybody, and I know we don't have a lot of people who are owners or working in the industry here today, but anything that is a barrier for you to participate in these types of activities that we might be able to help solve.
One thing that comes to mind for me is as we're talking about like diversifying the field, I think if at those events we could have like, if anyone has any female climbers or like climbers of color that they could bring. I just think like a huge barrier is like seeing people who look like you who are successful in the field. That's just an idea.
Yeah, I think that's a great point.
I would agree with Madeline. When we did our career fair last month, we brought our lead, what I'd call our aspiring foreman, who is he's 2 years out of high school, and or aspiring crew lead, I should say. He's 2 years out of high school and he's got younger siblings, and everybody at the career fair gravitated to him. And so everybody taught, I mean, he's English speaking as a second language, grew up here in the Vail Valley, and was just very attractive to all the staff. I did want to maybe put Dr. Klett on point just a little bit, to ask him a little bit about the CSU feeder programs, if it's just through ALCC and ProGreen, or if it's also through Planet, or if there's any other sort of opportunities for us to help feed the pipeline through the CSU database. If you have any other people we should be talking to at CSU, if you could share contacts, that'd be amazing.
Well, I could just add, I think I'm unmuted. Last night we had our professional career day, but it was mainly for our students here on campus to get jobs. And what we did, it was from 4:30 to 7, and it was just set up with tables where students could talk about internships, full-time jobs, and so forth. So it wasn't really a recruitment. It was for our own students to get jobs. At ProGreen, ALCC, I know has brought people in the past to sit in on some of the sessions and so forth, to get them more interested in landscape management, landscape contracting, and the arborist. But this year at ProGreen, ISA had a tree in the trade show area where they were giving demonstrations and so forth, and it was very well attended. And then people could get also ISA credits for continuing ed there also. But it would just drew a lot of people in that they could see what was going on in the arborist area. So I think that was very successful, and it went for 2.5 days and was right into the program itself. So probably not directly recruiting, but people that were walking through, I think, got a good idea of what arborists are doing and so forth that way. So that activity, what we have done here for our own students, and there were several arborists at the event last night that were just talking to our students for internships, but not recruiting like high school people and so forth. That was probably done a little more through ALCC at ProGreen. So hopefully that helps what we've done so far.
Jim,
and
do you know how many?
You mentioned one other thing, and I don't know if we'll do that again. You talked about it, Josh. We had in Adams County where we had about 5 or 6 different stations, and one, like you said, was dealing with climbing. Another one was on propagation. I think I might have done something on plant ID, various different things of professions that people could go into. And we actually bussed in high school students for that event that they could see. And then I think there was a little lunch or something also provided. But with COVID, we haven't been able to do that. Hopefully, maybe next year it'll open up again, that we could do it. We held it out at Adams County Fairgrounds where people had tables, and it was just in the morning, I think, a function like for 3 hours where the students could come, and they learned a lot from it. At least the feedback was very good about it.
Is
Excellent.
there any kind of central, and probably not, it would be cool if there was, but some sort of a way to find out about when these events occur so we can have a little lead time to potentially get either from the partnership or just a local company to participate.
Well, I think that at Pro Green, this will always continue. And
Oh, I meant more the events at CSU and the different county events where extension.
Okay,
may
yeah,
be
well,
involved.
definitely we can include you. It's just that we haven't been able to do it for 2 years because of COVID. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, I know the way I found out about it, Megan, and it was basically because they were looking for professionals to come and like help out. And so they put the request out and I responded to that. You know, it was like 3 or 4 years ago that we did one up at Boulder County and then Adams after that. And it seems like there's probably good alignment with, you know, Kelly with the ISA, you know, like, pushing some of this information out, short of like I don't know, is there a Arborist Facebook group, you know, of sort of like, you know, all these events that are going on, but I definitely hear what your request there, which is, hey, we really need like a central hub to be aware of these opportunities.
So it has kind of been a somewhat of a goal of mine to, I don't know, necessarily be a central hub, but things happening in the industry that get passed my way, I absolutely put it on our calendar. I know conferences that go on in other states in the Rocky Mountain region, I like to put on there and promote as well and direct folks to registration pages. So with that said, if you guys do have events and things that you'd like me to post, I can absolutely do that.
That's great, Kelly. When you say calendar, is that like a website you have to go to, or do you guys have like a ISA RMC like Facebook page where you're posting up all the events that are coming up for the chapter?
So we have a website and we have a list of upcoming events, but it doesn't, I'll give you guys the secret, it doesn't show you all of the events for the year. However, there is a calendar link on the sidebar that lets you go through each month to see the rest of the year. So I like to post things there first, and then we'll push promo to Facebook. I think the most reliable resource would probably be the website.
Gotcha.
Kelly, are you able to put a link to the ISA RMC that, you know what I'm talking about, the Facebook page? Just so I can make sure when I'm looking, I'm finding accurate.
The Facebook page?
Yeah, I don't know if you can put that in the chat if you have that capability at this moment.
Yeah, the Facebook or the website?
Yeah, both probably.
Yeah, give me a bit. I'm on my phone.
Nancy, you had your hand raised. Oh, sorry. Nancy, you had your hand raised. I don't know if you still have.
I don't know that I have much to add. When it was quiet, I was just going to say I was a teacher and I was a middle school teacher, and everything you said sounds amazing. And I know that up in Northern Colorado, there are career tours that the middle schools are taking kids on, and they'll take the kids in over the course of the day to 2 to 3 different businesses and kind of give them the opportunity to explore. And those are exactly the kinds of things that they love. So I know a lot of you guys are further south. Randy is up here in Northern Colorado, but yeah, I think connecting, and it sounds like you guys you are so wonderfully connected, it sounds like, to the different school systems and stuff, but the CTE programs, and the counseling offices at middle schools and at the high schools, if you're having trouble connecting, would just be the place to go. But those activities are exactly the kinds of things that help kids begin to picture what it is somebody's doing. And I think they're just great. I just want to give you kudos. And like I said, man, I would love to be a kid doing that.
Thanks, Nancy. Appreciate you sharing that. Megan, I didn't mean to cut you off. If you had some more to.
No, this is definitely some little nuggets in here, especially resources that we can use for outreach as well. I was once a high schooler, but I didn't even think connect with the counselor at the school instead of trying to get in touch with the district to figure out when they have their bigger events. So cool. Thank you.
Excellent. I know that several years ago, I just attended the TCIA Winter Management Conference, which is like the annual meeting of the Tree Care Industry Association. And the former chair, Mundy Wilson, had set out this vision that she wanted every young, elementary school student, especially female students, to be aware of arborist as a career, just like doctor, lawyer, architect, this vision of saying like, hey, this is this wonderful, viable career as well. And I do know I've been working a little bit to network. A friend of mine, she heads up the Girl Scout. There's a national campaign called the Girl Scout Tree Promise. And this is a national campaign for the Girl Scouts to plant 5 million trees. And what they really, the way that it works is the local troops need to get together with local partners to put together these plantings. And arborists and arborist companies are really well set up for these. I mean, it's a great way for arborist companies to network in their community, to help educate some young ladies about, the trees and help ignite, some awareness and hopefully, a passion for caring for trees. So anything we can do to get aligned with those programs, I think is helpful.
Josh, who did you say you were speaking to at Winter Management who said things that I swear she was inside my brain must have been?
That's Mundy Wilson Piper.
Okay. Okay.
She's the former chair
okay.
of the.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yep.
Josh, it's great to hear about the Girl Scout troops. We actually just partnered with them about a month and a half ago to plant at the local kennel, the local dog shelter, to provide shade for the animals that are being kept there.
Awesome. Do you know if that's aligned with that campaign they have?
I believe that it probably is. The mother of the troop reached out to us directly as an arborist group to ask us to help them with their annual give back to the community.
Mike, I have a request. Would you be willing to maybe loop me in on an email around that event? Maybe if you have any communication that I could then pass back to my friend who runs that program on a national level, because that could be a great, just an example of like, hey, case study, case in point, like here's where it's being successful. Would you be willing to throw something my way if you have anything on that?
Yeah, I'll definitely look at the invite email that she sent to me and see where we're at on that. Of course, we're under 2 feet of snow right now, so we haven't done much, but I know that they're asking me to come into the school ahead of the actual event of when we plant, and then my team will help coordinate it, and then I'll actually be there on the day of planting as well.
Awesome. Yeah. So that would be like so cool to be able to, and it might be a great opportunity to raise some awareness, like from a business perspective for you, right? Like, if that got like, hey, look, here's a successful study. And then, of course, I'm always thinking about leveraging that for the sector partnership too. So that'd be great if something, you have anything.
Great. Yeah, and Josh, I'd also be really interested in that national contact you have.
Okay.
That would be cool. Awesome. Thank you so much, you guys. This is helpful.
I have one more thing to add before we move on. Some Girl Scouts have also reached out to our organization because we do mostly planting events. So once those kind of get off the ground, I could loop the sector partnership in, and if anyone wanted to attend and like talk to them or do some of those activities you were talking about, I'd be happy to like facilitate that. So I'll keep you in the loop about it.
Definitely keep me in the loop. Thank you so much. And the rest of us.
Sweet. All right. Is this the part where we go to the airing of the grievances, or what's our next agenda item here?
Yep, that's right. That's what's next.
Anybody got anything they want, anything they need, anything that's going on in their world that aligns with the work we're doing, feedback, that kind of stuff?
I'll hop in here, Josh. So it's been about 2 years since we've engaged with the sector in partnership. I'm assuming a lot has happened since then. We're wondering, as we roll out apprenticeship in-house, what tools and documents are available, specifically if there's any templates around record keeping and the skills, that sort of thing for the apprentices, how we can best implement those tools in-house.
Yeah, most of the resources are going to come through like Cynthia McLean and her office, like when the guidelines, it is helpful to have like the workbooks, like as an employer to have a copy of those workbooks that because they all have, or actually it's helpful also to have the instructor workbook, because that has all the rubrics and the skills that they need to document for each of the learning areas. We don't currently have, I've put the request in, I need to do it again. In Wisconsin, they have a physical job book that the apprentices carry around with them as a great way to keep focused on these, like documenting their skills and their hours.
Yeah,
and get inputted into the database. And so I think it's a great request, because we have a real need for that. And so it's a reminder to me to reach back out to August Hoppy there to see if he can send over a copy of the job book for the apprentices.
Gotcha. So what I'm hearing is really Cynthia is probably the best person to reach out for resources.
For implementing the like nuts and bolts of like entering in the hours into the database, she is not going to have a lot of like technical resources, right? Like I think the TCIA is going to be the best place for like curriculum resources, or the one thing that comes up that we have not delivered yet that we need is, when you put apprenticeship in place in your company, it's a one-to-one relationship, journey worker to apprentice, right?
Right.
And so this whole train the trainer, where you're actually like helping your journey worker to understand this methodology of tell, show, do, which they already know, but making that explicit is really helpful, because it just takes them up a level in terms of providing instruction in a very regular, methodical way. We have a need for that. Nancy, I see your hand up.
I turned away for a second and then I came back and I heard Cynthia, and I thought the role of the consultants in Colorado is to kind of help pull all of those things together. We can provide you with samples, and you can go through and tick off and go, that looks good. I'd like to change this one. I'd like to add that. Here's the curriculum ideas that exist out there, or these are some different things. So please, sometimes the process of getting all that stuff over to Cynthia can have a lot of little details, and then she keeps sending them back. What we try to do is get everything together so that when it gets to Cynthia, it just goes right through. So if you're in the process of pulling things together, please feel free to reach out to me. You can reach out to Cynthia, but it may be smoother if we go through, kind of pull all that stuff together first, and then we send it all like in a complete package already to Cynthia.
So Nancy, what I'm hearing is you've been through this quite a bit and have the experience to kind of help us. So it's not just implementation of like signing up as a sponsor, but really where the rubber hits the road around, making sure that our trainers know what's expected and how to document. I'm wondering, are there templates available for them to document, hey, I've been working with this apprentice, or maybe the apprentice, I'm not even sure whose job it is, whether it's the trainer or the apprentice, who's inputting those hours and, checking off on those skills. I would assume it's the trainer. But looking for those templates, if anybody,
it's actually the owner of the apprenticeship program. So if you guys were the sponsor, you guys would be the ones who would upload that stuff to Rapids. And what I can do that might be helpful is to connect you. One of our consultants was actually at a business, and she was the the apprenticeship person who had to do all of that. So she can kind of give you a sense for what that looks like. And it really is like, if they've completed the program at, say you're doing it at Front Range and that's your related instruction and they've completed it, there's going to be a question that says, did they complete the related instruction? And you say, yes. Like there's not, this part of the related instruction, this part of the related instruction, like you don't have to go through and be doing all of that. It's like
For on-the-job training?
and for on-the-job training, I think they also say,
Yes or no? Have they completed?
have they done it or not? But what I could absolutely do is connect you, Casey is her name, and connect you with Casey. And she has been in and out of there and, putting people through, recording their stuff, graduating them, completing them through the program. And so she can, I think, really offer some perspective on what you're going to need to do. Cause I don't think it's as detail oriented as I certainly imagined. And I think a lot of folks imagine.
Yep. I think, 2 years ago, I kind of felt that, but in speaking with the team recently, it's like, well, how are we going to make sure that we're checking off that apprentice on the skills and that sort of thing? We wanted it detailed and documented and, to a T. So.
And it may be that you have for your apprentice, a file with a sheet of paper in it. And, once a month you're going through or whatever, and somebody's checking it off, but it's not going to be you going into Rapids and having to check off each individual thing and who's doing that and what's the time frame and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at, Appendix A around, okay, here's the approximate hours. And clearly, through a 3-year program, you're going to catch that. But what I'm hearing you say is really for Rapids, and I'm not sure what that stands for, but I'm guessing it's the federal piece of it, the federal portal.
Yeah, I do know the acronym, but I'll have to look.
When we go to enter this, it's literally like, has the apprentice, are they competent in these skills? Yes or no?
And I think that's to Josh's point too. When you have a hybrid, you're more marking off hours worked. And so you're having to keep track of that a little bit more. When you're doing a competency base, you're just checking off, yes, they've met the competencies. So that also, I think, is maybe one of the benefits of the competency is it's can they do it or not can you check off every single hour that you can tie directly to a competency.
Cool. And Matt, I would ask, what are you using right now? I mean, do you use like your own custom, or you use Tree Care Academy through TCIA, or like how do you document like somebody moving into like climber 1 position, or what's that look like in your company right now?
I mean, it looks like through hard skills, right? And we review our people every quarter. And so there's that initial meeting about where your skills are at now, and then what we want you to focus on the next 3 months. And then when they come back in those 3 months, we've had a conversation with their supervisor and said, these skills are looking good, or this is what we want you to work on more. So yeah, I mean, it's just a conversation, if you will, and then documented in their quarterlies.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, and that's, it sounds like there's probably some value in getting something that, the apprentice, kind of like this job book, right? Which becomes their little journal, right? Like, oh yeah, I worked with Brian today and he went over open face notches with me for, an hour or I spent a day working on, negative rigging, those types of things, so that the employee knows where they are in that process. And we don't have that formalized yet. We don't have that like resource, but the job book could potentially be that. So I think that's definitely something.
That's from Wisconsin you're talking about?
Yep.
What they've created. Yeah. And we certainly, utilize the TCIA books. So that's helpful. And that will continue to be a part of this program, I'm sure. So it was just when we were reviewing it as a team, it's like, man, how are we going to find whatever it is, 700 hours on Tree ID? It's like, really? So.
Well, yeah, and it's just, and you're just really recording their work hours. Like every day they're practicing Tree ID, right? Like that kind of stuff. And, their chipper operation, and at some point you're like, hey, you are qualified to use a chainsaw up in a tree, because you've demonstrated these competencies.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Awesome. And Nikki, thanks for telling us.
The discussion can
Thanks,
keep
Josh.
going by all means. I just wanted to, that way, be respectful of people's time if we need to wrap up, but the Zoom can keep going if you guys want to keep talking.
John, do you have any questions? Or I'll let you guys close out. Whoever needs to go can go. And yeah, I just wanted to see if, because John's helping implement with me.
Yeah, no, Matt, those were my pretty much my specific questions around the documentation of the training process. Yeah, it just seemed like, you know, we needed to be by the minute. They had 700 hours of tree ID and wasn't really clear on what exactly that would look like. So that was my main question. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Really great to see you, Matt and John and everyone else that's been on the call. Thanks for the participation. Great call. And yeah, I think in the meantime, if something comes up, let's keep communicating.
Thank you.